Josie the dwarf once said that folks living in paradise have no need to worry about those in hell. In the shadows, a young man keeps telling himself over and over that he must go all the way. While he speaks, the boy scratches himself, because the person living in hell dreams of paradise every single moment. The message he keeps staring at tells him to head to the very end of the alternate world. The boy stands there, looking totally lost. He keeps going without knowing why until he is so tired that he can't hold on anymore. Once more, the hero dreams he is sitting in the backseat of a car. Suddenly, a bright light shines toward him, leaving him alone in the cave for years without knowing how it happened. All he possessed was a book about celestial martial arts. Soon, a message told the boy that to see his family again, he had to walk all the way home. One day, he gets a message that the tutorial is finally done, and right then, our hero wakes up. The boy was crying tears of joy because he had finally made it. But the moment he stepped through the portal, he realized that world wasn't his own. This was only the start of it all. The boy sinks into despair, confused and unable to understand why this is happening to him. 10 years have gone by since he started trying to find his way back home. Right then, a voice calls out to the hero. Someone heard the boy's voice and came running to see what was happening. And besides, this man says he wanted to let the boy go, but his family is starving. That is the reason he wants to eat the boy's flesh. You can see the fear shining in his eyes. The sword clatters onto the ground. Our hero has survived and is now pointing a finger at the man for everything that went wrong. His mind is crowded with words full of guilt. Suddenly, a message popped up announcing that his martial arts skill had just leveled up. Even after such a sad event, the main character climbed up to a new height. Slowly, the hero starts to find the whole mess pretty funny. He was laughing so hard that when he saw the message, he instantly knew the martial arts book was the key to leveling up. He must hit the top level to get back to his world. Nowadays, a boy rushes to his demon leader. The protagonist leans in to ask the defeated man which generation of sect leader he belongs to. He holds a sword to his throat and claims to be the 8th generation Sword Emperor. It looks like our hero has already taken down the 6th and 7th generations of the sect. The hero is thrilled that they keep returning to challenge him again and again. With one final strike, the hero ends the fight. A follower leaps in to avenge his boss, but the hero knows that anyone from a demonic group wouldn't dare say such a thing. Before the boy could even think about it, someone snatched his face. The hero confessed that the boy was truly brave. For some reason, the boy's body just won't move. Then a wall of energy springs up. The hero's strength was so huge it felt like a monster. After showing off his moves, the hero tells the boy to come back and challenge him again once he's grown stronger. All he hopes for is that their next meeting brings some fun. Now he stands ready to lead the sect. Unfortunately, this time a master he fought was just an ordinary guy. The main character is stuck in a loop, not knowing how to find any fun at all. He's bored so much he's thinking of gathering a team of martial arts masters. Our hero wakes up and gazes at the sky. For 140 years, he has lived right here in this reality. All he ever wanted was to go home, but now he can't even remember what his family looks like. He had never known paradise because this hellish life had always been his reality. The hero has had enough and can't wait any longer. Just then, a message popped up. It seems the hero finally hit the highest level possible. And with that, the limit holding back his rise to godhood vanished. The message tells us he's heading back to Earth. After waiting forever, it has finally come true. The girdle laughs that now that he has given up on everything, they feel sorry for him. Maybe these strange creatures are just messing with the main character. Now the hero has grown as strong as a god. The trouble is that our hero's story doesn't add up, because he still burns with human desire. Our hero wonders if he's always been this full of feelings in his life. It's been so long that his family is likely gone, so he has no reason to come back except for his burning desire for revenge. The message asks if he wants to go back home. Our hero is hunting down the person who ruined his life to get his revenge. His hate is so strong that he blows the whole forest apart. No matter who it is or where they hide, that person will meet their end, and he can be certain of it. A blindingly bright light washed over everything, filling the whole space with its intense glow. After 140 years, he is finally returning home. Back in 2011, on Earth just before the Cheshire Hine incident happened, a glowing woman warns that the days when nightmares come are almost here. Suddenly, a gate swings open right in the middle of the forest. This woman insists that we must grow into something better. On the other side, thousands of red eyes are waiting to break through. The woman tells everyone not to throw away the good things they've been given. Someone else said it was finally time for Cheshire Hine to show up. In Korea during the year 2025, a group of red wolves is trapped inside a dark dungeon. A pack of huge, terrifying wolves chases a young man. A mighty spell saves the boy's life from the deadly archer technique. The man who pulled him from the danger was the leader, Chansol. She's glad she made it just in time, but now the only move left is to turn and run. But just as he's looking away, a wolf jumps on him from behind. Not even the leader could call the chaos to a halt. But sadly, he wasn't the last one facing this trouble. Every single member of his team is being swallowed up by the creatures. Sean knows she's in deep trouble because the wolves look like they never end. Her magic is fading fast, and if things keep going like this, nobody will make it out of here alive. While everything is falling apart, she spots one of her men running. She still calls out to him, but she has to keep fighting off the wolves. Even she is starting to lose control of things. Seo bolts through the trees, running for his life. He decided the group was a bad idea, so he had to make a run for it while he still could. And right then, a portal suddenly opens right in front of him. Right on top of that, an arrow drops right down in front of him. Sei never thought anyone would follow her this far. Cheyenne Soul won't let him get away, so he tries to talk his way out by saying he's just glad his leader is still alive. The girl immediately grabs him by the shirt. She screams as she told him about the dangers. Now the entire team is gone, but Sue doesn't care. He just wants to stay alive. Chaz was finally relieved to see the boy's real face. She stops talking to him and tells him to go, fearing his father won't be able to protect him this time. Just then, his eyes burn with hate, and he shouts out to his leader. Before she can do anything, Sue jumps out from behind and attacks. The boy's glowing red power whips around his hand and smacks her right in the chest, sending her flying until she crashes into a tree. Sayo tugs at her hair, convinced the girl is worthless. He felt the girl was being too proud for his liking. Because she dreams of fame, he is ready to help her make it happen. Sayo recounts the tale he intends to tell. Because of Cha, every single person on the mission was wiped out. He cast the same magic spell once more, and now Sayo is ready to put an end to her life. Suddenly, a storm rolls in and lightning strikes right behind the boy. When the smoke finally fades, a new figure steps right into the space it once filled. Chashire Hyen steps right onto the battlefield. At last, he was back on Earth. The hero chuckles, finding it funny that hitting the top level just means going back home. That's why he promises revenge, and he means every word of that promise. Right then, the hero hears a voice laughing at him. Sayo thinks the main character is acting like he's the only one in the room. He asks where our hero is from and who he works with. Chashire Hyen simply turns and walks off without looking back. Sayo can't believe people are ignoring him right in his face. The hero watches as she fights and takes a fatal hit while everyone else turns their backs, making Sue's anger boil over. But the worst part is that he saw the boy with Cha, and now he can't let him go. Even though he doesn't know who this person is, he still has to get rid of him. Shushi Hyen can't help but stare at the girl, drawn in by the necklace shimmering around her neck. As the main character watches the girl, Sia begs him to stay silent, but he ignores her warning and strikes first without waiting for an answer. But suddenly, a burst of power knocks him backward. In that very second, the CIA realizes they are up against a power too great to handle. Shushi Hyen told us he already knew exactly what had taken place. What's more, he recalls the boy asking for his name. So, he steps forward and tells everyone he is the Emperor of the Supreme Sword, whose name is Shushi Hyen. Before he could even blink, the hero was already standing right over him. The protagonist admits that whatever he says will mean nothing to Seo. A beam of energy fires out and instantly turns the boy into dust. The energy blasts a huge explosion deep into the forest, leaving nothing of the poor boy but a few scraps. Then the hero spins around and walks away from him. Now all he cares about is the girl lying on the ground. He's the big brother. When Chan Ansel was just a child, her parents would scold her whenever she threw a tantrum. She's growing up already, her mom said. Her brother said she loved amusement parks, but staying too long would only make their mother's life harder. The real reason she didn't want to leave was that her brother would stay behind to study, so he gave her head a gentle, loving pat. Chatamol's older brother promised that no matter how busy his university life got, he would always come see her. Whenever they were together, he would always take her to the amusement park. With that promise, her heart felt light again. Once they were back in the car, she asked to be carried, and he gladly did, remembering that one day she wouldn't be so small anymore. Standing at the crash site, Chat blamed herself the whole time, wishing that if she hadn't been so stubborn, none of this would have happened. If she hadn't died, her parents would still be alive. Little Chid looked all over for her brother, but he had disappeared into thin air. Right now, her arm is getting better again. Suddenly, she wakes up, and the protagonist tells her she'll be okay, but it will take some time to feel better. Cha asks who the man is, and he replies that he figured she wouldn't recognize him. He says he can't carry her anymore now that she's grown too big. She just shook her head and thought that could never happen. For a brief moment, Chon-Sol sees a sudden image of her older brother. She still holds onto the words he spoke. Be strong, even when I'm gone. She snaps with anger at first. Then, a swirl of feelings takes over, and all she manages to say is where he's been for all these years. Chashur Hyen wraps his arms around her to make her feel better. But when she realizes where she is, the girl pushes him back and looks for Seo, only for her brother to show her the broken remains of the man who was attacking her. Chai Gunzold stands frozen in shock. She asked who did it, and he stepped up to take the blame. Right then, Shai Unsil grabs her brother and shouts that they need to run. Later in the apartment, Chashur Hyen remarks that it's been decades since he was here, yet everything remains exactly where he left it. His sister says that director Sia Kang-jing is coming right after them. This man is not only the father of the boy who attacked her, but also the leader of the Aurora Guild and an ex-gangster known for being extremely dangerous. He is also one of Korea's 11 top-tier hunters. Chon-Sol should have told about the mission long ago, so Shu Kong-jing must have found out about her son by now, and since she was the only one who survived, she'll be the first person they suspect. Chashur Hyen asked himself if that was exactly what his sister had been worrying about. If that's true, he'll just eliminate this S.E. Kong-jing guy as well. But the girl snaps at him to shut up and stop talking nonsense. That man is way past level 50, and he didn't just stumble into his role as an executive. Besides, she's already losing her mind over her brother, who disappeared 14 years ago, only to show up out of nowhere and start spouting nonsense. She says that after her parents passed and her brother vanished, life became truly tough for her. Once again, she demands to know exactly where he's been this whole time. For the very first time, Chashur Hyen finally learns what really happened to his parents. Then he mentions that his sister thinks the way he speaks sounds really weird. The protagonist tells us that for all this time, he lived in a place called Nurim. But before he says anything else, he wants to make sure he knows everything. He's eager to learn what a hunter and a guild are, and whether this world follows the idea of levels too. Chainsaw gently tells him to take it easy since there's so much to take in, but she wants to save that talk for later because she has something else to do right now. So the archer heads toward the Aurora Guild to wait for her. Chashur Hyen walks into his room and is stunned to see everything is exactly the same. He also realizes that his sister has grown stronger. Now, he must finally be the cool big brother he never could be for so long. First, he turns his attention to this guy named Kong-jin, who everyone calls a seal. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes from the apartment door. 3 men dressed in black stand there. One of them casts a spell to blast the door open. 3 of them step up into the doorway, fists tight and ready for a fight. One of them is desperate to find out where the girl has gone. Chashur Hyen didn't see that coming. Seo Kong-jin stepped forward and went after her himself. Shionel marched straight to the Aurora Guild office, terrified that she'd be arrested the second she crossed the threshold. She even wonders if anyone is out there she could call on for a hand. Just then, Lai Jihe, the vice leader, rushes over to ask if she is all right. She believed the girl was on a secret mission alongside the guild leader's son. She's hoping to find out if anything went wrong. Chai never saw Li Ji coming. After all, this woman is one of the toughest in South Korea. She's loyal and fair, but what she's really thinking stays a mystery. Maybe this is all she has left. Back at the apartment where the invasion happened, Chashur Hyen thought the whole thing was incredibly bold. He shouts at the intruders, telling them it's wrong to break down someone else's door. When one warrior starts to get angry, the leader steps in to tell him to cool off. Seo wants to know where Chonol is, and he doesn't care about the hero, who is just looking for the person who killed his son. Then the hero stepped forward and admitted it was him. Right away, the man slips out of control. But for Chashur Hyen, this is exactly how things are supposed to be. Seo steps up to test just how strong he really is. The two throw everything they have at each other and collide with full force. Meanwhile, Lee is desperate to meet Shushi Hyen when Seo attacks, but the protagonist slips away to dodge the blow. He realizes his opponent's sword is brimming with powerful energy. It seems we've finally found the hunter his sister was talking about. Remembering back, that boy had used a strange power just like this one. Maybe we should try out a few experiments. His rival gets ready to hit him once more. Seo Kong-jin storms in, landing a flurry of hard hits all at once. Even in the very last second, the hero doesn't even blink. As the sword strikes, a wall of light springs up to stop the blow. It looks like the hero has already solved the puzzle. Shushi Hyen thinks his opponent is up there with a supreme master, and honestly, that's pretty impressive. Our hero stopped the attack with only one hand. He shrugged it off as if it didn't matter and asked if there were about 1,000 others just like him. Seizing the chance, the team steps in to help their boss. A beam of light struck one of their shields. Chashur Hyan snaps when someone cuts him off, and that is when he spots a fiery glow. The mage unleashes a blazing fireball directly at him. They think they've won and strike while the warrior is still drawing his sword. Chashur Hyan easily reaches for his blade, and for him, the adventure is just beginning to get exciting. For a moment, the warrior just looks straight into a bottomless pit of power. The hero pushes him back with nothing but pure force. He's still baffled by how strong someone can be. He can't help but wonder just who this person truly is. His sister says he has only been away for 14 years. The guys he's up against are at a martial master level, which means they are incredibly skilled. In just 14 years, people have climbed as high as Miram and even found many supreme masters, which is truly amazing. But they still aren't as powerful as the 10 great martial masters. Shashi Hyam still remembers the moment he stood right in front of them. The protagonist claimed that the Jangu ranking list didn't even have his name on it. So, he chose to begin all over again. Finally, he was the last one left standing. Meanwhile, the protagonist's sisters are on the road. She's spinning out of her mind because so much is happening at once. Now the vice leader suddenly wants to meet her brother, leaving her unsure if it's a good thing or a bad one. She recalls Lee's promise that if she helped reunite them, the vice leader would personally hide the scandal right now. That was exactly the kind of offer she couldn't say no to. Lee thinks she can't stand up against trashy Hyan. Later, she asks Chat Unsal if her brother truly vanished 14 years ago, just as she claims. Lee crunches the numbers, sees that it adds up to 140 years, and can't even picture just how strong he must be. Then she wants to find out what sort of guy he really is. Chai Unsol tells her brother is polite, kind, and a star student. The boy not only got into a top school, but he also earned a free ride there. He's the kind of person who never quits, because if he starts something, he has to finish it. Joshi Hyan points a finger at the last guy who tried to attack him. He found his power fascinating and couldn't wait to see it again. Right then, he strikes the person trying to sneak up on him from behind. The mage is so scared he drops his spell when he sees what's happening. He pulls the trigger, but Shashi Hyan's shield stops the shot without any trouble. Now it's time for him to pull off some tricks. The main character calls forth huge ice monsters to his side. In just one heartbeat, the mage is frozen. The shield bearer tries to run away, but a magic wall suddenly stops him in his tracks. He doesn't even feel the sting of a lightning bolt striking his forehead. Their leader is furious that the guy with the shield left the stairs wide open so carelessly. With just one left, the hero knows that no tough guy stays loyal until the very end. Sayo believes his opponent is a mage, yet his attacks pass through unblocked and the apartment remains untouched behind an invisible barrier he hadn't noticed until now. Sayo asks the hero if they knew the others were coming and had prepared beforehand. Chashur Hyan tells the story of how he wielded the sword of his own thoughts to guard the apartment, determined to keep it from being destroyed. But he knows that explaining what that means is a tough task. Even as they stepped inside his house, they had already walked right into his domain. But Sue promises not to face the fall by himself. His wild power kicks in. He lets out a burst of power. Chashur Hyan is shocked that he managed to grow so strong, and now he's starting to think about giving his life to make it happen. Sayo ignores him and pushes straight ahead. He lets out a rapid storm of strikes. It looks like he's completely lost his mind. Suddenly, a sword shoots through the air straight at our hero. Shashi Hyan vows to teach Sue some respect. With just one swing, he cuts him cleanly in half. The protagonist tells him to feel honored, explaining that he just got hit by the Emperor of the Supreme Sword himself. When Lee and his sister arrive at the apartment, they catch the protagonist in the middle of cleaning up a huge red mess, but he claims he was just warming up. Kainsal claims he's back and causing trouble right now, while his brother insists she head to Miram to get stronger. The protagonist then sees the vice grin. He feels a spark in her spirit that matches the ancient power of celestial martial arts. Lou is totally shocked that the protagonist can actually send messages through sound. She thought she was the only one until she stepped into the other world and found out she wasn't. The next morning, Chanal had already fallen fast asleep in her room. Suddenly, she wakes up in a panic and runs away, while Chai Yancel shouts for his brother. That's when she hears his voice calling out to her. Shashi Hyan even jokes, asking if she thought he had vanished once more. She exhales in relief that it's real, asks why he's awake this early, but he pauses to check his phone and looks suddenly distracted. It's been a week since he came back, yet everything still feels like a dream. Vice Leader Lee Ji-hee just said he'd meet them again. Soon, a few folks showed up to scrub up the place. On the same day that news broke about Su Jong-yun's tragic end and his father's retirement, Sayo Jinli honored her promise. Since Shaitan Soul was the only one left alive from the last mission, The guild will keep a close watch on her for a bit. And now the vice leader has called her brother over, leaving everyone wondering what secret plan she has in mind. All she can do is pray her brother comes back in one piece. Li Jiji sat all by himself in the quiet cafe. Chashur Haiyan chuckles, amused by the way she never seems to worry about a thing. After all, she's always surrounded by bodyguards, yet she first claims he arrived quickly and then clarifies they're not bodyguards, just one guard. As Shashi Haiyan takes a sip of the tea, he instantly recognizes its unique flavor. Li used to make a special trip to Hamin just to have her tea. Of course, that's exactly what she did back in Merm. The protagonist liked that she went straight to the point. She says that 3 of them stepped into the other world. But there's also Park Ted Hoon, the boss of the Twilight Guild, who and her guild are locked in a fierce rivalry. After talking to their leader, Li found out that in 2011, he had woken up inside a cave next to a book called Celestial Cultivation Martial Arts. Once he stepped out of the cave, he discovered he had arrived in the world of Merm. It felt just like the time the main character lived through. He got the very same message. If you want to get back home, the boy had to go all the way through that one. Just as the age of hunters and raiders began, Shasid Haeyoung returned, likely because of their adventure in another world. They want to know all the secrets he has about the dungeons. He says that 14 years ago, when a goddess showed up, she brought raids, monsters, and a class system just like a video game. The protagonist asks how she and Park came back to this world, and Lee tells her they died, causing her to instantly feel the energy shift. Our hero recalls the promise to be there when this world ends. Chashur Haiyan is shaking with rage. He wonders if the goddess knows who sent him to Miram. Just as reaching the top level lets him go home, there must be a matching reward for hunters who do the same. That's how he'll finally find the answers he needs. Lee starts to feel nervous about what's going on. Our hero stops her and asks why she's coming his way. She then suggests that they go for a walk. Lee says her guild was about to fight Park, but now they're leaderless. Since the hero was the one who caused it, she wants him to own up to it. The vice leader invites Chashur Haiyan to lead her guild, offering fame and wealth if he accepts. Our hero tells us he can't turn down the offer because it comes from his sister's boss. Even so, he still won't say yes. When asked why, he tells the story that he chooses to walk the path all by himself. And there is just one more thing to tell you. Chashur Haiyan simply refuses to take orders from anyone weaker than him. Lee thinks back on what he just said and suggests they settle it with a test to see who is stronger. The hero claims he lived in Merm for 140 years. The vice leader answers that being older doesn't automatically mean you are more skilled. Chashur Haiyan nods, convinced that even after 30 years in that place, no one could ever match his strength. Lee insists she has to see it with her own eyes. Suddenly, a rush of energy bursts from her and shoots all the way across the field to the protagonist. The power forms into a glowing magic eye. This skill is known as the Dance of Shadows. Everything around him starts to fade into the shadows, but unleashing this power over a wide area takes so much energy that only the strongest could survive it. This is Lee's special power. She's built her own tiny world. From the outside, it seems like nothing has changed, except that they're simply gone. In Miram, they gave her the name Scarlet Cherry Blossom because she never missed a single assassination mission. Joshi Haiyan already suspected she would fight all the way to the bitter end. Now, we're left with just 2 paths to choose. It's a desperate battle just to stay alive. Even as she threatens him, the hero knows the power isn't meant to trap her, and in that same breath, she already has a blade at his neck. Lee insists he's right, just as Shashi Haiyan skillfully slips past the flying blade. Lee twists the blade to a new angle. With only the flat of his hand, the hero stops every hit. She's moving fast, but he's still blocking her way. Then she readies herself for the next round of strikes. As the next carriage rolls by, the hero is suddenly thrown backward, landing with a hard thud. From afar, he notes that her way of fighting is strange. The martial style of Miram's greatest assassin, the Dark King. She's shocked that he figured it out with just one quick look. Shashi Haiyan tells of time he faced someone who used that move, only to knock him out in a split second because the other guy was still green behind the ears. She proposes a challenge. If she can beat him using any 3 styles, he will join the guild. But that final hit already counts as the first one. Lee accepted the challenge, and Shashi Haiyan was fascinated by how she completely vanished from his sight, as if she had turned invisible. 3 sudden blasts of power shoot straight at him. He finds the movement interesting. The protagonist tries to slip away. As he runs away, the magic still follows him. Joshi Haiyan sharpens his technique for the battle ahead. He sidesteps the blow using his own power. He walks away with not a scratch, yet he knows she's powerful and truly magnificent. In the blink of an eye, she strikes him again. That was the second way they did things. Laven steps back to create space, and the vice leader quietly admits she already knows the hero's name. She knew he was the strongest master of all. That is why Sherry Hyen has to be the strongest. Energy spikes shoot up from the ground. Lee then makes a bold claim, promising that if she beats him, she will be the strongest person in the world. The hero felt a spark of excitement at the thought of the challenge ahead. With such a powerful display, he stood there open-mouthed and unable to speak. This is her ultimate move. She mastered the deadly art of the shadow dagger. Lee pours all her heart into it. Darkness creeps in from every side, squeezing tighter and tighter. He fights back with a sharp blade made of his own thoughts. A huge explosion erupts as light and shadow fight for control. Energy hits Lee, and a huge boulder flies at her, yet her body refuses to move. It feels like an invisible force is pulling her back. Just before it was too late, she managed to pull the hero out of danger. That was the third style, and now it's time to move on. Cha Shi-hyung looks at her and asks if she wants to keep going. Trembling, she gives up, and then the sky calms down again. She has stopped fighting, but she wants to know one thing before she gives in. Lee is desperate to know what he did, because for a split second, she felt like she was fighting a battle she could never win. Cha Shi-hyun stands tall in that realm, certain her power will make her stronger than any ordinary person. The final word catches her completely off guard. She then asks just how far up he climbed. By the time it all ended, the hero knew it had been a fight worth having. Because of that, he agrees to join Aurora, but they will need to help him with the materials and information he needs. Even so, he'll still be working on his own as a freelancer instead of being an official part of the team. They'll team up, kind of, since our hero refuses to take orders from anyone. Lee says yes, but only if one condition is met. He has to swear that he'll never ever join the Twilight Guild, no matter what. So he takes a heavy oath in his own name, the ruler of the Supreme Sword. Lee thinks that name sounds too showy, and Cha Shi-hyun says he wants to be left alone, marking his last warning. The vice leader promises she won't do anything to hurt their friendship. After that, he tears his shirt apart. That is how he says sorry. Cha Shi-hyun confessed he was trying to get her to show off her skills as a powerful hunter, just so he could watch. For a moment, he looks embarrassed, but she says it was fine because it let him fight without holding back. So our hero curiously asks why she picked assassination as her style. Lee answers that she had once desperately thought she needed to end someone, and then the story ends. Our hero remembers the old messages telling him what he had to do to get back home. Cha Shi-hyun feels that same burning need for revenge. A car sits patiently where the dirt road ends, waiting for something to happen. The guard looks worried until she steps inside and asks if she is okay. The man saw her dance through the shadows, but the woman claimed that Trick wouldn't even scratch his target. Just as we feared, he is way past what anyone could ever be. Now she has no magic left at all. Even worse, she didn't even bother to strike him back. She had no idea how he was trying to protect her. Lee finally admits that she lost. He asks her if she intends to send the hero to the festival. The vice leader says he will be a main fighter against Park. She recalls a man telling her she must follow his lead because he is the martial god. She knows they're doomed if Chae-hyung isn't there. At last, the hero made it back home. Before he can speak, his sister rushes forward and squeezes him so hard he doesn't realize at first that she's just trying to crush him with a huge hug. From now on, she won't let him go anywhere or get into any trouble. She's scared he might vanish on her once more. Cha Shi-hyun gets it, but he decides to become a hunter, and his sister is absolutely not happy about that. The main character tells the story of how the magical cube he holds was handed to him by Lai Ji. By holding this item, he is able to open his status window. Then Cha Shi-hyun takes hold of the item. Right away, the cube starts to shine with a bright light. The item slowly begins to crumble apart. Even the main character starts to feel a bit let down that nothing is going on. Cha Shi-hyun grumbles at Lee, convinced he's a scammer, until his sister tells him to check his status screen. Suddenly, two pictures flash up, one proving he's at the very top while the other shows him starting at level 1, saying he has no classes. Only Miram can see the orange one. On the other side, the blue one reveals that he is a hunter. His sister peeked at his class and looked surprised at what she found. Then the girl celebrated, shouting that her destiny was never to be a hunter, and that was truly something to cheer about. In this world, everyone begins their life as one of 6 basic roles: warriors, shield bearers, mages, clerics, archers, or rogues. That never changes, but each one will eventually grow into a stronger version of itself. Take Chai Tansel, for instance. He started as a regular archer, but grew into a deadly sharpshooter. But she sees that he has none of those things, and to her, that proves he's just an ordinary person. Of course, anyone can hunt, but her worry is that his special powers make him a danger, so she wants him to stop. The hunter must gather experience points to grow stronger and learn new moves for battling monsters. On the other hand, someone with no background would have to learn these tricks the hard way by doing it themselves. The cheapest and simplest melee combat cube you can buy costs 20 million. That's why hunters with a class level up on their own, while the others are forced to keep spending money just to grow. So the question still hangs in the air. Trun's soul simply doesn't have the money. Then, he remembers that Lee is going to pay for his trip. Unfortunately, he didn't buy her lie. If he hadn't made that alliance back then, he'd be in deep trouble now. But there is still more to the story. The fact that he is a martial genius here on Earth means he is actually a nobody with no real talent. Deep in the Chiak Mountains, this tutorial raid from the Aurora Guild has more than one name. The bunny raid was suddenly blown apart by a flying arrow. Shushi Heian feels it's a huge waste to go to such great lengths just to catch a tiny rabbit. His sister warns that many new hunters arrive here, treat it too casually, and quickly find themselves in deep trouble. That's a Luan stone, a raw treasure of natural power that is incredibly valuable and caused all the nuclear plants to vanish. Chad Dinnell warns his brother to watch out, since anything can happen inside that dungeon. Before she can even blink, he pulls out a whole bunch of rabbits all at once. What truly upsets her is that he's acting as if she isn't even there. As he practiced his fighting moves, he noticed something strange. No matter how powerful his skills became, he wasn't gaining any hunter points. Chashur Hayam glances at his power, doubting if he picked the right path. The power he got is nothing more than a simple dagger move. His sister scolds him for asking for free power after getting a weak Class D ability. Shiol says she can't read the contract, but she knows the woman is trying to take advantage of him. He kept turning his back on her, clearly fed up. Even the girl can tell something has shifted in the air. Just as she reaches for him, he snatches her hand and asks if she doesn't need to be somewhere else. Poor Shai Unsal is completely shocked and stunned by what happened. Her brothers can sense exactly 337 rabbits with their special ability. She thinks it's way too much for someone who's supposedly a beginner. That is the moment her brother walks away. Shushi Haiyan just can't stop feeling ashamed. Even though he has reached the highest peak of swordsmanship, he still chooses to use the DK skill. On top of that, they call him a nobody with no class at all. Shushi Haiyan thrusts his weapon upward, filling the air with his power. As soon as he hits the ground, a big hole opens up right under his feet. That huge group of rabbits looks at him with deep suspicion. He hears his sister yelling at him, so he jokes that she should save her anger for later because right now he's just thinking about how to cook these guys. Suddenly, a flood of warning messages pops up all at once. They gave clear directions on how to use the blade. He gets even more irritated every time the system tries to show him the way. To him, all the fun and games are done. Suddenly, every single rabbit lunges forward to attack all at once. Now, they look more like fierce wild creatures. They thought they could teach him something with ease, but the protagonist cut them all down. He was told that the hunters started appearing 14 years ago, meaning it will take another century for anyone to reach his skill. Suddenly, several messages pop up again, including a new notification about a dagger skill. It feels like something fresh has just appeared. Chashur Haiyan turns to his sister and asks what those messages really mean. He insists the windows are too tiny and wants them made bigger. While he acts bold, his sister is terrified of what he just did. The hero claims it's probably just a bug or something similar. Chi Unsal couldn't figure out how he'd suddenly become so much better with his sword. Something catches the hero's eye, stopping him in his tracks. He asks if passive skills that don't use mana still give points, and she says yes. The protagonist beamed with joy at the news that his skill was a divine treasure, so perfect it was actually too much to master. Shushi Haiyan thinks this will make things much easier for the future. He readies himself to hit. His strikes send a mighty wave of power rippling through everything. It turns out he can actually earn new skill points just by practicing martial arts. That's probably why Korea's best hunters, Lee Ji-hai and Park Tahu, all possess a special talent. When she heard that, Shai-Dinal glanced down at her bow. Then she calls her brother to ask him to teach her how to fight. Chai-Nal admits she already suspected it, but now she knows for certain just how strong he really is. She holds onto the memories of that red dungeon. If she doesn't get stronger, she won't be able to stop it from happening again. Chao-No knows she'll never be as strong as her brother, and even though she'll regret this for sure, he promises to teach her before she gets too upset. This marks the first time the protagonist takes on a disciple, a blessing that lets him stay by her side and guide her to learn how to protect herself. With everything finally settled, he tells her to follow her master. They sprinted across the wide-open field side by side. Shyansel looks around and asks what you'd like to do next. She wants to know if he'll keep using the tricks he learned from the hunter. Suddenly, two rabbits spring out to attack both of them. The hero springs into action, delivering a single, powerful martial arts strike that blasts them away. Our hero shakes his head, admitting he has no clue what kind of hunter he will become in the future. Even now that he knows how to get stronger, he still craves a special class skill. Our hero recalls how Lee grew stronger through martial arts and rogue tricks, so he must now find a class that fits the protagonist just as well. That's when an idea suddenly pops into his mind. Our hero leaps into the air, hovering above the rabbits as he gathers power in his hand. Any martial arts skill is dead, and mixing other kinds is nearly impossible, so what hope is there left for magic? In a single strike, he wipes out the whole field. His sister frets that he is acting too recklessly, but he feels content knowing that magic gives him far more choices than she can imagine. That is why he is destined to become a mage. Only shy Gunsel gets nervous because she told him he can't just pick a class, but he clearly doesn't care. Having seen both systems in action, it's obvious they work in very different ways. Murmur's machine is now useless in this world, but his sister is glad she won't have to save money for a while. However, the Hunter interface feels like a completely different person was built to show you everything useful in a much friendlier way. The Hunter system works like a steady friend that pays you fast, and with hard work, anyone can get stronger. The Miram system is a tough path that grows slowly, making users brave their lives over and over again just to get stronger. The Skyborn Goddess is a legendary hero who invented the way of martial arts for those who grow with the heavens. When he awoke in the cave, he still didn't understand that finding that book was either amazing luck or a miracle. So, following that same thinking, the goddess handed the Hunter's special power to all of humanity. And that's the moment the hero finally understands that the one who made the Merm system was a celestial god. Thanks to Lee's help, the hero has been tearing through dungeons for a full month now. As our hero battles the chicken, he realizes he's finally home in Korea, since nothing tastes more Korean than this. With that, he was already level 22. While he was busy, his sister spent her time studying the 365 blood vessels. Chaeyoun's also discovered a way to tap into her inner power, proving that even if you're too old to learn a new fighting style, there's always a path forward. Puzzled by his silence, his sister can't help but ask what he plans to do next. He tells her she can spit out any amount of blood she wants. That scares her so much. Our hero cleared every quality check path she could find, but right after that, the unsolved shots started piling up. She nearly singed his hair on more than one occasion. The vice director tells the hero that everything is going well. Now was the moment for them to put their deal in writing. Our hero giggles at how she always says exactly what she means. The protagonist admits it's been a long time since she called him. Lee leans in close and invites him out on a date. Despite the shock of being asked out for the very first time, the protagonist still says no. Lee announced that a fresh dungeon has popped up in Butchun, where the danger is so high that only hunters between levels 45 and 50 can dare to step inside. So, no ordinary hunter can move unless it is our hero. Chashur Hyen wonders why she wants to head to such a dangerous place with just 2 people. First, she plans to seize the dungeon, but she also needs the hero to grow into a powerful hunter as quickly as possible. The protagonist wonders if she's trying to carry him, but Lee points out that his speech sounds nothing like an old man from Urim. Our hero asks her why she needs him to get strong. The vice leader pauses to think before giving his answer. Lee shares the news of the yearly solar festival, a grand event organized by the Aurora and Twilight guilds. It's a Korean battle called Harmony for Hunters, but really, it's just a test to find out who's the strongest. 2 guilds are locked in a never-ending battle for control of dangerous dungeons, keeping their deadly secrets hidden so no one ever knows what truly happens inside. Chashur Hyen is curious about why these fights happen, knowing that dungeon trouble isn't the only reason behind them. She blames Park because he suddenly went crazy and attacked Aurora out of nowhere. It's all because he wants everyone to start following some fake god from the sky. Right then, he gets angry and starts screaming at her to spill the whole truth, but all Lisa knows is that Park got a message from her. The hero realizes his only way to catch a liar is to read their status window, but he can't see other people's. The vice leader can't believe he treats her, his guide, and everyone else so coldly just because of one message. Not to mention that before the hero arrived, the 2 of them were the only ones who ever set foot in Merm. That leaves Chosi feeling confused and unsure of himself. Lu then formally invites him to join the festival as the face of the Aurora Guild. These days, the scales are tipping in favor of the Twilight Guild. That's because they're grabbing dungeons right out from under the heroes. When this unfairness is revealed at the festival, Aurora might finally be doomed, especially since we've already driven away their former director because of our hero. But Chashur Hyen still doesn't get why she wants him to become a hunter. Lee tells us that the Solar Festival brings in reporters from everywhere, and she knows our hero is scared to be found because his special powers might just get him killed by the hunters. Or perhaps he's so sure of himself, he thinks he can take on the whole world by himself. That's why he can only use his hunter powers to join the festival. And since he owes her a favor, he has no choice but to say yes. He doesn't have to speak a word, because she already thinks he said yes. In this case, you have 6 mage skills, including 2 powerful ones, plus 1 special ability from the sorcerer class. Thinking it over, Chashire Hyen realizes he might have to fight this park guy someday, so he's actually winning in the end. Then our hero spots a little paper floating by, because unlike Merm's world, rules exist here and he must sign some contracts. It's only a couple of papers, guarantees for payment, and proof that he's working for the Aurora Guild. Our hero realizes he must form a guild to represent Aurora in the festival, since he can't do it alone and needs a business ID to make it happen. And he'd better sign right away to earn those cubes worth more than a house, because she had been planning this from the very start. Chashire Hyen has to pick a name for his guild, and he can write whatever he wants. But the door he steps through leads to a place with no boundaries at all. Now, they blink away and arrive right at the mission. For some strange reason, our hero only steps out of his house to dive into dungeons, and this particular one is called the Bird Monsters of Butchin. Li Ji explains that each of these creatures is weak on its own, but here, they come in a number that is impossible to count. Chashire Hyen feels the presence of at least 3,000 with his Kai, and the protagonist gets thrilled. For him, more is always a good thing. Our hero fashions a spear made of pure light. He zaps the flying monsters with a powerful electric shock. Li is stunned by the new technique he just learned, but the hero explains that for him, mana and ki are basically the same thing. She warns him not to push too hard, or he'll burn out, but he doesn't think it will happen. Chashire Hyen wonders if dungeons are always filled with just one kind of monster. His friend says yes, and the hero thinks that's really strange. Li noted that while thousands of dungeons have appeared since they first showed up 14 years ago, no 2 dungeons have ever shared the same type of monster. Something crashes into the bird monster and flings its broken pieces right against the wall. A huge dragon lets out a furious roar that shakes the air. By the lake's edge, a man scoops up some food and tosses it to the swimming fish. Deep inside the leader's home in Sioux, Kim Kalho tells Park Ta-hun that Aurora's vice leader has been acting very strange. His intel says she's been helping a rookie a lot and has gone down many dungeons with him. But the leader doesn't seem to care about that news at all. The assistant goes on to say the rookie is a guild member's brother who vanished for 14 years and just came back, which grabs Park's attention and makes him ask where the rookie was hiding. Kim checks his notes and realizes they still don't have all the answers, but he knows for sure that Aurora's former leader didn't retire. Instead, he disappeared right after arguing with that rookie over the leader's son. Park says the man is gone. His assistant looks like she doesn't quite believe it herself. The leader says that Chashire Hyen put him down, which is why Park thinks our hero really came from her. Our hero looks down at the creatures he has just defeated. Chashire Hyen feels his new powers are different from his Mer abilities, but Lee points out that he's just having too much fun. He's been down there for at least an hour, smashing everything in sight, so his magic is probably running out fast. Chashire Hyen is stepping up to tell her something important. He claims there might be a special skill that lets him trade his own life force for mana. The protagonist says that in Merm, he gained an ethereal body with endless powers and never-ending strength. But Lee is flooded by all these strange pieces of information. So the hero chooses to keep things simple. Our hero flows with endless power, and once he reaches the highest level of any martial art, all techniques merge into one, making him unstoppable. Now that everything is settled, Chashire Hyen steps up to take on the boss. Lee feels that having someone like him there means she has nothing to fear at the festival. The creature lunges forward to grab her, only to meet its instant defeat. After that, she turns her mind to finding a way to make a living. The sky swarms with monsters, but Lee sweeps them all away in just a heartbeat. After the attack, she clings to a mountain to stop herself from falling. She grabs the rock to build up speed and then jumps. The vice leader hunts monster after monster, taking them down one by one. Lee scrambles to the mountain's edge, but the slope never seems to end as the monsters keep closing in. Once she returns, Lee will raise the dungeon's danger level since there are far more enemies than anyone reported. She has gathered the perfect team to make the mission a success. The team brings together a mage, an archer, a cleric, a scout, and anyone else you can think of. Suddenly, she gets a bad feeling that something isn't right. A huge group of giant dragons buzzed overhead. Even with her huge size, she understands why 2 different kinds of creatures can share the same dungeon. Just before the blow lands, she leaps out of the way to stay safe. But another one arrives right after. This time, she readies her magic. But another dragon she never noticed swoops in and hits her right in the middle of her flight. Lee suddenly realizes they are tapping into demonic powers. The whole dungeon system has collapsed. Luckily, she manages to pull herself out of trouble right at the last second. The hero had been holding his breath for this exact second. Lee gets annoyed because he already knows about these monsters, but he still mentions that there's a boss. He claimed he kept them for the very end on purpose. Shushi Hyen admits she froze in shock, but he knows she is strong enough to face these monsters. Our hero claims he's starving and offers fried or grilled food, but the vice leader shuts down the joke, saying now isn't the time for laughter. Chashur Hyen calls a wall of fire in one hand and a crack of lightning in the other. Together, these were his new powers, and he stood there waiting for them. Every dragon dived right at him. The sky is dark and full of dead monsters. As the hero brawls, Lee remarks that she expected him to cast magic spells, yet for some reason, he's throwing punches instead. Only Chashur Hyen claims this is pure magic. The vice leader stands frozen, staring at the shocking sight before her. A portal bursts open and more dragons rush in to join the fight. Scared, she runs to help her friend, but he just stands still and lets his attackers surround him. She fights back with her special ability. They try to make an opening to run away, but some creatures just won't move out of the way. Instead, they soak up the attacks. The big monsters are feeding on the little ones. Lee screams out to our hero. Now she knows for sure. Those tiny creatures aren't crawling because they want to or because they can't help it. The biggest ones are the ones giving the orders. That's why they step directly into the path of danger to protect everyone. Now that she knows how to win, they have to take on the big ones. She is only worried about whether her friend is okay. Lee holds onto the final picture of Chashur Hyen in his mind. From the way his eyes looked, it was clear he didn't dodge on purpose. It drives her crazy that she'll never know what's going on in his head. Lee is eager to help our hero, but this is their first time facing such a strange problem, and they're being pushed to their absolute limit. Right then, she had a bright idea. So busy fighting that the creatures on the ground didn't see the girl hiding on the back of one of them. She meant to hunt down the monster, making everything chaotic, but she didn't see another creature crash into her just then. In freefall, she lines up her shot on another monster. She grabs a dagger to hold on tight. Finally, they're starting to listen to her, but it's way too late, so Lee thinks she can take on the fight alone and jumps into the shadow dance. Only he stands alone in this endless battle. Just then, a spell brushes against her body. Suddenly, a huge boom tears through the air. The vice leader can't figure out where the endless power is coming from, since the protagonist is pouring out far more divine sword magic than ever before. She is watching his endless power right before her eyes. Chashur Hyen admits he's ready to hang up his hunter hat and call it a day. All of a sudden, thousands of swords appear out of nowhere. A wave of light swipes the monsters away. Before anyone could blink, they were completely destroyed. The battle has ended, yet one question still lingers. There's a real risk that something like this could happen in another dungeon. By now, the system meant to warn of dungeon dangers might have stopped working properly. If this happened anywhere else, it would wipe out a whole group. The Solar Festival might not be the most important thing right now. But one thing's for sure, Parktoon is going to try to make a profit from this. If she isn't careful, the toilet will squish them. Lee stood there completely lost, not knowing what to do next. While she's lost in thought, someone suddenly holds something right in front of her face. Shushi Hyen says she's too distracted as he shows her a stone that's different from the others. She says that this skill stone comes from a huge monster, so its power must be just as mighty. But Lee still looks like his mind is elsewhere. The vice leader steps forward and calls out to our hero, wanting to share something important with him. A month later, a group of young folks chat about the upcoming Solar Festival and a new rookie joining one of the guilds. It seems our hero has finally become a superstar online. Some folks whisper that he's Aurora's secret weapon. Kim knows he's in deep trouble after his rookie teammates get mad at him during a meeting because they know nothing about the new star they just celebrated. One of them has no idea that the guild leader is actually sitting right there at the meeting. He looks calm, but he instantly tells the man to sit down. Feeling shy, he does exactly what he was told. The leader admits that Aurora played their winning move too soon. Eventually, they'll see if he's truly the one, but for now, they're going to pull him out of the game. Kim Chu-ho sits in the cafeteria, shaking with nerves and glancing at his watch, as if someone is about to walk through the door any second now. When he spots his guest, he jumps up right away. The man is happy that someone said yes to his invite. Chashur Hyen and the hero glance around, taking in their surroundings. Of course, he looks at the hand reaching out to him. Finally, he shakes his hand. He asks if the young man is Kim Chu-ho, the assistant he's there to meet, but quickly remembers to keep his tone respectful. Because of that, Kim thinks the main character is being very rude. That's exactly what Kim wants, to learn everything about the hero by just watching. And as this assistant named Chashir Hine observes, he begins to wonder if everyone at Twilight is just a bunch of fools. Kim sets a magic soundproofing gadget down on the table. As soon as he hits the button, a wall of silence rises up, blocking every sound from coming in or going out. Our hero can't help but laugh at how desperate he is to talk to her alone. Kim opens by saying his guild wants to team up with you. Chashir Hine reveals he's already working with Aurora. Kim says he knows that, and that the main character is getting money too. They know about the CO Gene incident and have been following the protagonist through the dungeons right along with Lee. Even so, they know the hero decided to stay out of Aurora, formed his own solo team, and became friends with her. Knowing all this, Kim figures out that the gap between the protagonist and his guild is why he offers a deal, promising to give him everything he needs and more. Chashir Haeong changed his mind about the man, who had made a perfect pitch with strong arguments. Kim offered to sort out the papers, but our hero said no. The hero claimed he only showed up out of curiosity, but he quickly realized it was all for nothing. Still trying to save the deal, Kim argues that skipping the festival will leave him with a fortune. But Chashir Hine says that aside from being huge fans of Lee, he simply hates losing. Even so, Kim grabs his arm and tries to keep him from walking away. He had a whole mountain of words still waiting to spill out. The man asks the assistant how much longer he plans to keep staring at the door. The guild leader stayed right there the whole time. Park remembers the single thing he asked Kim. He asked his assistant to keep the chat going as long as possible because he had been listening from the very beginning. Kim reaches out to say sorry, but Park shakes his head and says it's too late to fix things now. What he saw looked pretty weird. He walked out of the meeting, still trying to figure out who this Shushi Haeyeon really is. Lee read the report on what happened at the meeting and figured Park must be furious. Our hero thinks Park might already know he's from Urim, but since his title isn't famous yet, he's okay with that. The moment our hero walked into the diner, he saw Park lifting his sword. Lee thinks he'll leave them alone for now, since his plan didn't go right. The protagonist asks about the investigation, and the vice leader replies that everything is running smooth without any accidents, at least for now. He recalls the moment she thanked him for hunting down the real monster in the dungeon and saving her life. Our hero politely offers to help out, but she shakes her head and says she doesn't need anything right now. But she sees that Shushi Hyen sounds a little sad. Before he can even reply, his sister calls out that it's time to leave. So he hangs up the phone, since they are on their way to the cemetery. Behind a pane of glass, you can see a picture of their family. Chuno runs to her father and tells him that her brother is finally home. But our hero watches this whole scene from a safe distance. He feels coming here was a big mistake. The main character has changed so much that he can't even cry, not even when things go terribly wrong. He didn't want his sister to see this terrible side of him. It just wouldn't help at all. Chyeonseo wonders if he truly feels nothing at all. She says he doesn't look sad or show any emotion at all. His sister won't let him stay quiet. All he can say is, "I'm sorry," because he has become a man who can no longer show her what she wants to see. And that leaves Sha Unsol in a real bad mood. The girl shouts at her brother because he can't understand what she's saying. All she ever needed was just one thing. Just then, she is pulled back to a time when she was little. She can't figure out why he's turned so cold and different all of a sudden. Jashi Hyen doesn't feel like her brother anymore, but she doesn't care anymore. She has been living by herself for quite a while. His sister turns and walks away from him. He keeps wondering why he came here and how he changed so much, desperate to know why these things happened to him. Out of nowhere, a status window from Mim pops up. It wonders why the hero still looks like a person. Joshi Hyen has no clue what's going on. The new message orders the hero to stop refusing to believe. If he's up for it, they could cut a fresh deal. Even though our hero still thinks the guy is greedy, he's certain he's speaking to a god. The new message threatens to end the protagonist's life again, but Shushi Hyen refuses to back down. He vows to hunt down this god and put an end to him. The message confirms that the challenge is accepted. Then the panel vanishes, and our hero falls into deep thought. He takes the threat of starting all over very seriously because he has nothing left but his sister. Sean Sol looks back and sees that she's all by herself. Her brother stayed behind and didn't come with her. A few days later, a thrilled presenter steps up to declare that the long-awaited day for heroes to brave dungeons and slay monsters has finally arrived. Everyone was waiting with bated breath for the big Korean event. The Sun Festival has kicked off. It's a festival where the guilds celebrate their unity and everyone gets to watch hunters in action. The protagonist feels like this festival is just as wild as the Olympics. They say people are drawn to hunters like moths to a flame. People look at them just like heroes in a movie. One of the goals of the Solar Festival is to make the hunter pictures feel more friendly. Lee spots that something isn't right with our hero. She sets her tea down and finally asks the question she's been wondering about. The vice leader questions if he ever clashed with the team leader, Cha-nil. It's not a surprise that they show up together with grumpy looks on their faces. She already thinks it's the hero's fault. Our hero begged Lee to help him find a quiet house far away. Her confused face turns to shock the moment he tells her he got a message from her. Our hero isn't sure, but he feels the sky god is on his way to him. The hero has no idea how the fight will end, but he is determined to keep his sister out of it. Lee's head is spinning from all the strange news she just heard. To her, it makes no sense, but the protagonist thinks disappearing for his sister's good is strange since Chad Unsol doesn't need a brother like him. Just as she promised, the person she knew vanished and never returned. So maybe she just stayed in Mim. Lee couldn't stand hearing that nonsense, so he punches him. The girl says she doesn't like getting stuck in other people's messes, but if her brother said that, she'd want to punch him right in the face. She tells him that he knows his sister far less than she does. A man arrives to find Cha-nil's vice leader in a very uncomfortable spot. Lee tells the protagonist not to run, promising she'll be back in a moment. For some reason, the boy stood there with his mouth hanging open, unable to say a single word. He's about to face a harsh truth. Before the festival starts, the presenter asks everyone to gather and watch the opening ceremony. Aurora's leader, the paladin Jan Janho, is coming. Standing right next to him is Jang Sunguk, the rogue known as the Vice of Twilight. The girl mentioned that those two used to be on the same team. Now it's the vice leader's turn, and a hand stretches out to greet them. For a split second, it seemed like her anger would win, but Lee managed to greet Park with politeness. She also notes that the little boy who took her place has gotten much bigger. The man feels hurt, but his leader keeps him in line. Park snaps back that he overheard Lee busy himself with a rookie and wasting time on the weak. But what she hears is a threat that he will break every important bond she has, leaving her shaken. But she answered by saying she'd take his words as a compliment, although she actually accepts his challenge. The Solar Festival is kicking off right now. The match is already underway. The battle rages on as a warrior unleashes his flurry strike. The girl strains with every ounce of strength she has left, swinging her shield just enough to stop the blows from hurting her. The warrior grabs this chance to thrust his spear forward once more. Finally, she couldn't hold out any longer and was beaten. The fifth one-on-one fight ends with a Twilight member winning, even using a blunt spear to seriously hurt his opponent. Park is happy with the win, even though the game dragged on against an opponent he thinks isn't much of a challenge. Lee naturally comes across as incredibly arrogant. In the end, the leader packs up and walks away, hoping the next match will be more exciting. Lee just watches with curiosity as his vice leader waits for him at the exit. The Rove asks Park when he can finish Lei, and the leader tells him to relax because her time is almost here. Right now, his heart is all on Cha-nil. He steps forward to say hello, just as the presenter shouts out the name of the Archer Survival Arena. She can't wait to watch the sharpshooters and turns to her partner to ask who he's cheering for. The commentator says he's watching Cha-nil closely because she's young and talented, even though her recent accident in the Red Wolf dungeon is a real worry. Some of the team can't understand why the vice leader left her running the squad after everything that went wrong. Kyansel hears this and shouts that if they have something to say, they should tell her right in her face. The two gossipers ended up with nothing to say. In the end, they had to scurry away with their tails tucked tight between their legs. Kyansel looks like he's running out of steam. She hasn't spoken to her brother since that day, and just thinking about it makes her feel anxious. Right then, a message arrives telling her someone has come to speak with her. Kyansel braces herself, only to be disappointed when the vice leader asks if she's okay. Kyansel looks suspicious, but Lee insists she's here to cheer on her team. She said she was going to show up with the main character, but he vanished right before she got there. Lee instantly knows she's hit a sore spot. The vice, seeing her pain, tells her she needs to talk to her brother. Kyansel questions why Lee is meddling in her life, and Lee responds that she's simply worried about the person she's putting her faith in. She thinks the vice leader is shamelessly bullying her brother. She holds Lee responsible for her brother turning to hunting so soon after he finally got his life back on track. For Cha-sol, coming into this world was a mistake he should never have made. It makes no sense for him to want to get stronger than he already is. She knows her brother is hiding something. With tears in her eyes, she whispers that the man she loved has turned cold and distant, leaving her wondering if he's truly changed. The announcer shouts that the Archer trial is starting right now. Kyansel asks for forgiveness for her behavior, but before she leaves, Lee reminds her that her brother never wanted to change so much. She says she has suffered exactly like Cha-shur Hyan. Lee says he took a hard fall into hell and stayed down there for a long time. There's no way to walk away from something like that and feel normal again. And naturally, he doesn't want his sister to see that side of him. Cha Eun-sol feels it's odd that she has to hear this from the vice leader instead of her own brother. It feels like she doesn't deserve his trust. Unlike Lee, who stands on the same level as her brother. After Chat and Eun-sol leave, the vice turns to look at someone. He was actually there the whole time, listening to everything. And since she knows he loves his little sister too much to leave her like he said, he just won't admit it. Lee feels that this attitude brings to Mind Park. She grabs him, shouts that Cha Eun-sol is no longer a little girl, and demands he be honest. Lee knows that hiding their true feelings will only hurt their relationship. The vice leader tells him to follow her, promising to show him a side of Cha Eun-sol he has never seen before. When the flare lights up, the race begins. People start to walk out from the broken ruins. Soon enough, the 6 clans from both guilds will clash. Park watches, terrified of what is about to happen. After all, he had set something special aside just for this. And so, the adventure starts. Over the crackle of the radio, a voice called out that Charlie had found the enemy. Team Golf says they're fighting too, just 200 meters away. Chi Eun-yul still remembers the fight she had with her brother. Because of this, her rage takes control. What hurts her most is seeing him lean on Lee instead of her. While some messages arrive about the pursuit, Cha Eun-sol can't stop thinking about the argument. She spots the enemy, but when her team says they're too far away, the sniper ignores the rule and risks taking the shot anyway. Cha Eun-sol pours her soul into her arrow and lets her sniper skill loose. Even though the target can see the attack coming, they're completely helpless to stop it. With that, the 6th person from Twile is out of the game. She then proves she hit the mark, leaving her team speechless. Cha Eun-sol just wants people to take her seriously and not underestimate her. As a child, she remembers everyone pitying her for losing her whole family. Some said her brother's body was never found, but she still believes he is out there alive and well. And right then, she saw it. A message flashed on the TV, warning of a huge change coming to the world. The goddess told us that humans had to grow and change to survive. Because of the insane world filled with gods, monsters, and dungeons, she held on to her brother's hope more than ever, convinced he was still alive somewhere. After taking a test, she earned the archer class, got a scholarship, and walked onto the campus of Hunter University. That's when someone dumps a whole carton of milk right over her head. They made her life hard because she was an orphan. The students resented her because they didn't like that she got to go to school without paying. But before he could speak, a tray came smashing down on the boy's head. Shial asks them to hold off on their jealousy, saying that once their own parents meet the same end, they will finally understand. But the boy keeps mocking her, so she challenges him to a fight outside. And that's how she graduated first and joined the legendary guild, Aurora. A blue beast lunges straight at her, but Cha Eun-sol pulls back her about to shield herself as she scrambles to grab the arrow's sharp point. When she finally gets a grip, she drives the blade deep into the beast. Once more, she was left to fend for herself. Lee arrives a little late and says he's here to help. She clearly didn't need it anymore. The vice officer asks the rookie his name, and he answers right away without any doubt. She grabbed the leader's eye and was pulled into the high seats while she was still young. And right then, Sue wasn't happy about that change at all. By the time it was all over, every step of her trip had led her right to where she wanted to be. Chuno trained herself to get stronger and survive on her own without her brother, refusing to let her mind grow weak. That is why she keeps pushing herself until she is completely exhausted. Cha-yin gazes at her necklace, where a family photo is hidden. In the end, she felt her sacrifices meant nothing since her brother had left her behind to be with Lee. She knows her brother is strong, but that doesn't make Chan all weak. After her fit, she finally settles down a little. The silence is louder than usual. Shyamsel speaks into the radio to say she is moving to a new spot. That's when she sees it, as a storm of arrows falls right at her. Unfortunately, she gets hit exactly where it hurts most. The team says they finally found their target. Thankfully, the arrow didn't pierce her muscle, but it still shouldn't have hit her at all since the tips were supposed to be blunt, and they were. It turns out they're actually using real guns. The group leader says there's no signal here to call for help. Cha Eun-sol laughs at that, and says she's never had to rely on anything like it before. First, she tosses the arrow aside. Then, she knocks her arrow and shouts for them all to charge at her together. The leader gives the command. A shower of arrows drops from the sky, but they only hit the target they were meant to find. Shine's soul jumps right over them. She flicks on her archer skill. Magic makes the very end of the bow grow larger. This time, she turns the tables by sending a storm of arrows flying. Unluckily, she has to skip her shot because of her injury, while he stands frozen when he sees his whole team wiped out at once. He never imagined that even with practice, Anyone could cause that much harm up close in such a situation. Snipers are experts at shooting from far away. While marksmen lock their fire on one spot, the rangers dart around with unmatched speed. Even though Chad Unsol is hurting, she's going to keep going and take care of everything else. But as soon as there's a gap, another enemy jumps in to attack. She dodges the blows that fly right past her, using that split second to strike back. A burst of energy flies toward him and barely touches his side, but then, like a boomerang, it curves back behind him while he's shouting at Cheyenne Soul, leaving him completely unaware of what's coming. Finally, he gets hit in the back. Another challenger falls to Cheong Sol, who steps out as the winner. By the end, the big fight turns into a one-on-one duel. Both lock eyes in the heavy silence before the fight begins. The man who got shot stands up again. He grabs the chance to strike her from the back. An arrow shoots straight toward Cheyenne Soul. The worst part is she didn't even see it coming. Just as the moment comes, the archer suddenly recalls her brother's words about martial arts. With the skill of a master, she snatches the arrow out of the air right before it hits the ground. The shooter can hardly believe his eyes at what he is seeing. Chun Sol hits like a bolt of lightning, landing a punch so hard it's the toughest anyone has ever taken. Now it's certain that he won't get back up. Chun Sol knows for sure that there is just one left. She vows to punch the guy, but the archer starts weeping and says he gives up. Just as the hope fades, help finally shows up. The archer didn't even know it, but an arrow shot straight into his head. The team gave a big thank you to Chad Unsol for doing such a great job. Even as she thanked them, she noted that they had taken too long. By the end of the 6th round, the Aurora team claimed victory in the competition. It seems the signal cut out and nobody got to see what happened. But it seems Cheyenne Soul managed to beat 4 rivals all at once. Even the 2 people who had been judging her earlier were forced to admit she was amazing. In the end, she confesses that she never wanted any help at all. Chun Sol can see the future, a gift her brother gave her. The helicopter soars above the scene, keeping a close eye on everything as its pilot. Lee beams with pride, while Chashir Hyam shares his joy. He jokes that she only survived because of her martial arts skills. By the end, he admits he doesn't really know his sister at all. He confesses that she has more strength than him. That is why our hero promises to treat her like a child. By the time it all ended, he was truly proud of his little sister. Lee thought the broadcast had failed and Park missed everything, but he was actually watching her use martial arts. The next day, at the amusement park, Shotguns waits to hear her brother tell her exactly how well she did in the challenge. But what he really does is act like it has nothing to do with him at all. She claims that even for her brother, the world's strongest hero with all his fancy titles, her feat isn't impressive since she ran out of magic. But that isn't true. To him, she wasn't just strong, she was forging her own path. Our hero starts by saying sorry for hiding things from her, explaining that he only did it to try being a big brother. That's because he still longs for that little boy. He was so caught up in the moment that he didn't even realize she had changed into a woman. Shashi Hyen became a hunter just to find the person who dragged him into that world. He figured that hitting the top level would let him do what he wanted, so he didn't want to drag his sister along. Even the shy Unsolal teases him, claiming those words didn't come as easily as he thought. All she really wants is for her brother to promise he will never vanish from her life again, and he has to put it all into words. Cheyenne-Sil admitted he never truly treated her like his sister, leaving her feeling all alone. Even if he doesn't want to, he can't help but understand her. That is why he raises his pinky finger to make a promise. Before it's all over, he has one last word to share. He isn't just some fancy title holder, but the true emperor of the Supreme Sword. Of course, she tells him to go jump in a lake. Everyone in the crowd has been told to get ready, because the big fight starts in just 1 hour. Now it's the protagonist's turn to step into the game, and Cha Unsal asks if he really intends to wear that outfit. The hero says it's comfortable, but before leaving, he remarks how strange it was that that specific group targeted her alone. Chad Dinalol says fighting like that in dungeons is normal, but this was the first time she saw them so obvious, and to her it only proved she's an ace of Aurora, which made the protagonist realize they must be siblings and think about the god's threat. Soon after, the leader of Aurora arrives to face our hero in person. Lee promises to lead the charge at the front of the great battle. Once everyone has been introduced, the leader walks over to check in with the other members. Chashir Hyen wonders if that's the Amumba brain boss Lee forgot about, who turns out to be weaker than her, and is just level 60. They wave goodbye, but just before she steps away, she whispers to his mind that he must never use martial arts. Although he's certain no one will notice the change, he still promises to act properly. Before she leaves, the protagonist tells her that thanks to her help, he has finally made peace with his sister. Lee looks so much happier now that he heard the good news. Finally, she wishes him the best of luck. Now that the bosses are gone, the other members chat with the protagonist, saying they've heard all about him. But the truth is, he isn't listening at all because he can't stop wondering why that group went after his sister. And that's when someone unwanted shows up. Leader Park pretends to be shocked when he catches the team enjoying a chill moment. Our hero realizes the being behind Twilight is a celestial god, meaning the guild leader is someone we cannot underestimate. Park claims he's just stopping by to say hi, but since nobody believes him, he's left with almost no choices. So he finally admitted he came just to see what the new star rookie was like. And so, the head of the rival guild steps forward to welcome the hero. He beams with a huge grin and tells them that they haven't met yet. Even though they know it's a lie, the protagonist nods and admits that this is the very first time they've met. Park thought his energy would prove the hero taught Chan Soul martial arts, but when it didn't work, he was left confused and unsure. The only person Shushi Hyen says he knows is the assistant. Our hero politely sighs that their story ended before it could go any further. The protagonist seizes the chance to thank the hunter in person for how his trial helped his sister. He warns that payback is coming, and Park can't wait to see it happen. Chashur Hyen doesn't care who this man is, because he messed with his little sister. He promises to put on the most amazing show anyone has ever seen and take down all the other guilds. The announcer, buzzing with excitement, thanked everyone for hanging in there. The time for the big show has finally come. The massive fight between Aurora and Twilight is finally starting, and the crowd is going crazy, especially for the rookie who leads Aurora's team and is everyone's favorite topic right now. Chashur Hyen, the fearless frontline warrior leading the Limitless Guild, stands at the very edge of battle. For the first time ever, a stranger from the outside world is now standing in for the guild. Nobody knows who he really is, and that mystery is his greatest strength. Now the vanguard of Twilight arrives, a blazing mage with fiery charisma and the heart of a dragon. Chashur Hyen laughs at the cheesy joke about charisma. That's when the first fight starts. Park wants his mage to keep the battle going, so he can watch every single trick our hero has up their sleeve. Ryu realizes his boss wants him to win, but before the fight even starts, his opponent is already flying through the air. The crowd hears the announcer call levitation, a simple but exciting way to kick off a fight. Even the guild leader is baffled, but Lee knows it's just a show-off act. Mage Ryu has reached the powerful level of 50. He's a hunter just as strong as Shukong Jin. If only the hero could use his fighting skills, that battle would be a breeze. But since he can only use hunter skills, things might get tricky because Chosi, Hyen's current level, is only 53. The truth is, he doesn't have any real hunting experience yet, and he's being watched closely. Park can't wait to watch those martial arts moves in action, but our hero will leave him waiting. The hero steps forward to begin the battle. Ryu quickly builds a wall to protect himself from the attack. As the mage shields himself, he thinks it's odd that his opponent is only using weak attacks. Rai uses his fire to break the spell. The mage stays cool because he still has one last surprise ready to use. In this class, there are 3 special roles, and the first one is the non-fighting craftsman. Next up is the elemental master, known as the arcanist. At the end stands the warlock, who feels more like a supernatural spirit than a normal mage. Usually, they are known for helping others, yet a few have learned how to strike back with deadly force. But for Ryu, watching from the sidelines isn't his way. He says that if the hero has something better to show, now is the perfect time. Then he unleashes a blazing kick straight at our hero. Our hero flies backward. The burning heat of the flames hits his skin. Then the explosion hits as Ryu unleashes a fiery close combat skill he's perfected since childhood, a rare move for his class. Chashur Hyen used to think he was the sole mage hailing from Erm. Now it's finally clear why the two look so much alike and why Ryu feels so uneasy around him. Ryu lets out one last warning. Then he calls upon his special power. He wants to see everything our hero has to give. A fire dragon charges right at him. Chashur Hyen steps forward with a grin, ready to reveal a surprise for him. With just a simple hand move, the fire magic gets cut right in half. Ryu crashes onto the ground face first. He has no clue how something like that could even happen. Even the announcer was so shocked by what she saw that she couldn't believe it. All she can say is that to her, the fire just vanished in a thin air, while some onlookers claim it looked quite different. They felt as though a mighty power had slammed the fire flat. The leader of the Aurora looks to Supreme, Lee, and asks what just happened. Even though she's itching to kill him, all she can say is that she has no clue what just happened either. Park keeps his eyes open and quiet, but he's right on the edge of snapping. The announcer shouts that not even Ryu's strongest move could scratch a mark on the protagonist. And that very fact is about to drive Ryu absolutely crazy. He forgets all about the possible trouble and rushes straight at his opponent. Chashur Hyen scoffed at the mage, teasing him for losing his temper the moment he saw how powerful his opponent really was. Riva swings for a kick, but totally misses. Filled with fury, the mage attacks wildly, but his moves are all easily blocked. Nobody watching the fight ever thought they'd see two mages brawling this close. Chashur Hyen notes that his opponent is so jittery he's tripping over his own feet. He also points out that Ryu is standing on the wrong leg and tells him to stop making those wide, exposed moves. To him, this isn't a battle, it's a grand show. Even Ryu is baffled by the way everything is unfolding. But Shashi Hyen, who has been training in martial arts for some time, now wants to ask one specific question. Our hero questions if that is truly all Ryu has left to offer. He claims the kid has the pride of a dragon and the might of an ant, yet the mage swears he will turn the hero to dust. Right then, our hero quickly backs away to put some space between them. The fire keeps climbing higher and higher, never slowing down. Ryu promises he will win, even if it means burning himself up to do it. This is the waltz of 10 fire dragons. The flames burst forward all at once, but the hero doesn't even blink. Even so, he says dealing with this attack will be a real pain. The dragons eat almost the whole arena. The heat rushes over to the stands. Lee just watches without getting involved, yet even she is shocked by what she sees. Not even Chashur Hyen's last desperate strike could break through his shield. He even admits that's exactly why he avoids getting involved with people full of pride. He's not having any fun in this hot situation. That's when the dragons get thrown around until all the fire disappears. Shashi Hyen tells Ryu it's smarter to walk away from this fight. Even the announcer can't believe how strong one person can be. She even takes a wild guess that the hero's secret power is gravity. The mage collapses to his knees. The crowd was left speechless to think that someone could command gravity, making them feel like a god. Ryu has no defense at all and can't do a thing when a punch lands right on his stomach. After being flung across the arena, Shashi Hyen stands up and says he is ready to fight the next challenger. Park looks around to see who is there, and his deputy points out that it's the knight Chu Jiong. The guild leader yells that he must use the secret weapon. That's the Twilight Lance crafted to guard the guild's planes. After waiting, the knight finally shows up, raising his special sword, Tuji, which is the only thing strong enough to kill mages. It's easy to think he's never fallen to magic, but there's still hope in that rookie. The main character just hopes all those fancy titles aren't wasted on him. Part knows Cho Shi, and Hyen feels confident, yet he senses that this time everything will be different. With the battle started, Choi activates his special power and rushes forward. He lunges forward, but our hero slips away just in time. Our hero teases his rival for rushing through the fight. Chashur Hyen spins glowing orbs of power in his hands and throws them at the knight. The blue smoke fills the whole place. Troy, still unharmed, lunges forward and rushes toward the hero, but Chashur Hyen steps back to create some space. Cho is strong, fast, and determined, so a hero decides to fly up and fight him in the sky. The knight shoots his lance in the air to fly up, but our hero holds his shield up to block the attack. Suddenly, his defense breaks and he crashes down to the ground. Even Chashur Hyen, who hasn't been knocked down in years, is finally impressed. The giant machine marched back onto the war zone. Our hero admits that if he could just use his martial arts skills, everything would be much easier. Even he admits that his opponent is a real fighter. Shashi Hyen was dragged to Xiao's boss. The weight of the heavy gravity pushes the knight down until he almost falls to his knees. Yet, Park doesn't even seem to care. In fact, he finds it funny, but Toy holds his ground with his spear, slowly standing up straight by holding on tight until he can resist and stand alone. Against all the pressure, the knight somehow keeps walking. Toy mocks the idea that just bending gravity will be enough to win this fight. Now the villain is ready to crush our hero, but Chashur Hyen just finds it hilarious. He never claimed he was playing with gravity. With just one sudden pull, Choi is yanked across the whole arena. As the knight crashes down, his armor shatters. Lee and the guild leader stood there completely shocked and couldn't say a word. Park stands there, completely speechless, not knowing what to say or do next. The commentators are so confused they can't even make sense of what just happened. They can no longer blame gravity for the damage, leaving the crowd to wonder what kind of power they are witnessing. Shashi Hyen is amazed to see the knight still standing and fighting. He then reveals that his power flips the balance of yin and yang, giving him rare control over pulling things together or pushing them apart using his own life force. Attraction pulls things together while repulsion pushes them apart, and it's easy to see how this works. Then he hurls a rock right at the knight's head, but Koi warns our hero that was a big mistake. The The knight stands up from the broken ruins and warns the hero that they should have never come this close. Park joins Lee and reveals the secret behind Choi's unbeatable streak against mages. The only reason this works is that Choi will win if Chashire Hyen has nothing but magic powers. His hand reaches out as Park knows the fight has ended. Lee's heart races as he realizes something terrible is about to happen. Suddenly, a message pops up for our hero. It says he won't be able to use magic for the next 10 seconds. Even Shashi Hyen is at a loss and doesn't know what to do next. The vice leader commands Choi to cast the counterspell, but the knight refuses, saying he doesn't want to use that trick in front of everyone. He tells us the leader thinks Chashire Hyen is keeping secrets because his gravity power is far too dangerous to be trusted. That's the reason they decided to put an end to his life. The hero wasn't expecting that blow, but he managed to dodge it. Choi proudly claims that his special ability, the counterspell, is his own. That's exactly why the mages can't beat him. Everyone in the crowd was so stunned by what they saw that not a single person could speak. Park says Chashire Hyen is so sincere that he refuses to show off his powers. Desperate, Lee lets the vice grab him and begs him to run. It's not worth fighting with martial arts, but Chashire Hyen hates hearing that, so the knight gets ready to strike again. He tells you that running won't help at all. Courtier stands tall as our hero, strong enough to hold back an attack that could tear a building apart. The knight jumps straight for him, but the hero knows he won't be the one falling. He's tired of the silly stories people are telling him and wants to know what's really going on. Chashire Hyen frees his Kai. Both Lee and Park truly carry that same electric spark. The Aurora leader is so worried that his sick vice leader is getting worse. Park stands in awe as the mighty power of the celestial cultivation martial energy crashes down. It was a shaking he had never felt before in his life. The night drags on, but slowly the strange energy overwhelms him until he finally realizes something is terribly wrong. He's lost in the confusion, unable to figure out what's going on. His power is still working. Before he can even react, energy chains slam around him, trapping him instantly. Chashire Hyen says this isn't magic, but martial arts, and if you're curious, just go ask Park. The protagonist admits he almost snapped when someone told him to run, which he thought was completely ridiculous. He thinks it's awesome that Choi can see everything happening. They call this move the mental sword, a deadly power that breaks out only when a hero reaches level 40. But the sword itself is a true reflection of willpower, so strong that at its peak, one could end a life with just a thought or even tear the sky apart. But the story would be boring if it ended that quickly. The heavy chains fall away, freeing the knight. Chashire Hyen is out to show everyone a lesson. He strikes with a mighty hit. With one hit, Choi goes down. The knight was launched through the air. Our hero hopes Park is watching closely so he won't forget. This is martial arts, and Choi flies through the air like a missile. The kick was so hard that it broke every single one of his bones. The Park stands frozen in shock while the knight crashes outside the arena, already knocked out cold. Our hero felt great relief and joy at finally getting to use his fighting skills again after so many years. And so, Chashire Hyen wins. Even though the hero quit the rest of the fights, saying he ran out of magic, Aurora still managed to win the festival 3-2. Everyone online is buzzing about the rookie, who is probably as strong as Park, and that very strength is the reason Twilight fell in the rankings while Aurora climbed all the way to first place. The assistant feels a heavy worry for his leader. He shouts out to him, but there is no answer. Park is all alone in the room, where his own rage has smashed everything to pieces. He was left frozen in shock, terrified and humiliated all at once. The brief glimpse of his power made it obvious that Park couldn't beat him. Now the guild leader is going to have to go to the very last resort. From now on, he won't hold back anymore. He finally walks out of the room, shouts for his helper, and heads to his next stop. They're about to face the Sky King of War. The week has gone by, but the Aurora marketing team is still fielding hundreds of calls about Chashire Hyen, even though he isn't part of the guild. But when a call asked if Lee Gi was dating a rookie, the young man got so annoyed he almost snapped. Inside the meeting room, you can hear the workers yelling in anger. One of them says that people have called 328 times to ask about Kisi Hyen and mailed 800 letters to him. Most of it comes from reporters and hunters eager to join the Protagonist Guild, as well as sponsors and TV crews. The hero said to turn everyone away, and so they did, leaving just one person behind. Just as the report comes to a close, a shout rings out from outside, demanding the chief secretary's attention, and he looks absolutely unenthusiastic about handling whatever trouble is coming. Lee turns to the hero and asks if he's really enjoying all this fame. The protagonist complains that he can't stand all this noise. Shashi Hyen says he wants to thank the chief secretary for all the hard work he is doing. Maybe it's a bit too late, but Lee wants to say sorry. She tried everything to keep him from using martial arts, but she admits she did it out of her own stubborn pride. She was also worried about him, which was why Shushi Hyan admits she was wrong about him, thinking he would truly lose control. Honestly, the hero doesn't care if Park noticed him fighting. He guesses the Twilight leader must have felt the power difference and will leave them alone for now. Yet someone else is hunting them down for what they did to his sister. Lee almost smiled in satisfaction. She shifts the topic to reveal that Twilight is now weak, Park has vanished, and even the neutral groups are eager to side with Aurora. Because of the protagonist, her guild has become the top team in all of Korea. The vice leader of the Limitless Guild sent a formal thank you note to their leader. Chashur Hyam feels a huge weight lift off his shoulders as his friend finally comes back to her normal, cheerful self. They clasp hands, and he promises that he'll still be looking after her for a little while. Our hero looks at his watch and sees that it's too late, so he knows his sister is probably already worried. Before departing, Lee questions why he accepted the Jigu Island Guild Alliance's invitation after rejecting every other offer. First, he's had enough of these dungeons because his level isn't going up anymore. Plus, Jigu Island is the perfect place for a family getaway. Chashur Hyan waves goodbye and promises to return in just a month. But had our hero known what was coming, he'd never have stepped onto that island. Chan and all stood at the airport, buzzing with excitement. His sister feels so happy that she has finally made it to Jigu Island. She admits it's the first time she's ever done this. It's plain to see from his smile that he is so glad to see his sister doing well. Just as they're talking about what to do next, someone shouts out to our hero. The Tama Guild's heroes stand frozen in shock as the welcome committee makes its entrance. An awkward silence hangs in the air until they decide to ignore the stranger. But the man is fast and suddenly appears right in front of them, snatching the protagonist's hand instantly. The man introduces himself as the leader of Team Tamna, leaving Kim Kuin and Chai Unsol shocked that someone younger than her already holds such a high rank. On top of that, he admits he's a fan of the protagonist and would love to get an autograph or two later. And as he listens to this, the hero just wants to go back home. Kim also knows that Chai Unsol is Aurora's representative and the sister of his idol. One of his helpers gently tells the young leader that it's time. Even though he'd rather take his time, they're running late, so he'll share the details as they go. Our hero groans at being pulled along, but Kim just keeps on dragging him. He promises to take them around the island later, but right now, a strange figure just watches them. A Chinese man speaks into the radio to announce that Chashur Hyan has arrived. A voice on the other end warns him to stop speaking Chinese, or he'll be discovered. The man stands up in frustration. He grumbles that his time off has already come to an end. Then he orders his men to get to work, for he has laid a trap for Chashur Hyan, Juju Island, and Woljang. A very cheerful man waves a bright welcome at the heroes. He is Kim Hun, the other Tana leader, who greets them with a warm smile. He told his nephew to bring the gift they had prepared. Chan Sol thinks this dish is going to be one of the island's best treats. Kim says that once you taste this, you'll never forget it. This is the high-quality item they carefully chose, a delicious fresh tangerine, which makes the disappointment feel like a cosmic disaster. Chancel even thinks about ending her life right there, but her brother pulls her back. The Tama leaders quickly apologize for cutting straight to the chase with the newly arrived heroes, but they insist the situation is too urgent to waste any time. Kim starts by telling us they stood against the Tubular Hunter system and decided to form their own independent group. They just wanted to stay out of the fight between the two big groups, but everything changed when deadly level 11 dungeons popped up on the island that only hunters stronger than level 40 could even try to enter. Tamina stands alone at that level, with every other top-tier hunter belonging to one of the two major guilds. Our hero can't figure out why they don't just leave the dungeons alone, since the monsters will break out no matter what. But Kim Kian warns that if they do that, they'll lose control of the dungeons, and their group will get crushed by the two major guilds. He says they fought fiercely to keep others off their island, but if things keep going like this, they'll soon lose their land. But right when they were most desperate, a light suddenly appeared. It was then that they spotted Chashur Hyan on the television screen. Just when they had no idea what to do, a powerful hunter who stood apart from them all showed up like a sudden ray of hope. Listening to all of this, the protagonist just has to think these people are completely crazy. The two Kims thank him with all their hearts, but our hero just says he only showed up because it was a chance to get stronger. He's eager to rush straight to the dungeon, but his sister tells him to hold on for just a moment. She feels there is something incredibly important she must handle. He's clueless about her words because she's just had to eat some black pork and trout. Later, deep inside a dungeon, a massive explosion throws the battle between the Tamic guild members into chaos. One warrior fumes in anger because every strike he throws bounces off without harming anyone. You've stepped right into the fire venom monkey dungeon. The beast opens its mouth to spit fire, but a shield bearer leaps forward to take the blow. The warrior urges him to keep going, but the shield fails as the poison takes hold. It's so fierce it can melt right through stone. The hunter never thought they could be that tough. Even with strong defenses, their attacks still find a way to break through. The longer the battle drags on, the harder things become. If things keep going like this, both of them are going to die. A deadly bolt drops from the trees and shatters every monkey, and Shushi Hyen laughs at how silly their name is, which feels like perfect irony. As the hero climbs down, the warrior gives him a grateful nod. Right behind him comes Kim, also giving thanks, while his sister drags him along like a sack of potatoes. Knowing Shy Gunsoul is angry, the young leader decides to thank her anyway. Now that he's rested, the boy decides it's time to lend a hand. Kim tells both hunters to get ready, and they instantly know what he wants. With both leaping into battle, the guild leader praises the protagonist's clever use of mage skills, leaving Shushi Hyam wondering just how powerful the boy really is. Kim replies that he's barely past level 40, which means he's already way stronger than the older Cha-Yunel. The other two are almost at level 42, thanks to never stopping their training. Since they guard every dungeon on Jigu, they're growing stronger fast. Our hero liked what he just saw, and Kim explained it was a teleportation power that was hard to master, but Shushi Hyen said it didn't look that difficult to learn. Kim was stunned to see his idol instantly understand his power just by watching him. While he went with his gut feeling, he now believes it was the smartest move he ever made. Thanks to his martial arts, he saved his experience points for intuition and poured 53 of them right into it. That's why he understood the magic trick he'd just seen with such ease. Not wanting to let anyone down, he wants to put what he just learned to the test right now. Chashur Hyen warns them to pay close attention but not be fooled, yet nothing happens. Just a bit too late, he figured out that Kim hadn't actually used teleportation after all. With no other option, he asked the boy how he does it. Deep in the woods, the monkeys go about their daily shenanigans in perfect peace. Suddenly, Kim pops up and starts bothering them. First, he says hello, leaving the animals all confused. Then he waves goodbye as the monkeys vanish and float up into the sky. Those creatures have no hope of escaping. Shushi Hyen finds the technique really cool. Kim says that when he is by himself, he can make huge groups disappear by dropping them from high up. His aim only reaches 150 meters, but that distance is plenty to put most monsters down. Plus, he can instantly move any object he sees as long as there's room for it, and he can grab and shift anything within his reach. Kim claims he only showed it because the protagonist asked, but before he can finish speaking, Shushi Hyen vanishes right before his eyes. Our hero tells us that after watching the boy use it, he learned the move but still needs a little more practice. Now the team stops to grab a quick bite. Chain and Soul teaches everyone to stay alert when in such a dangerous place. Kim admits she's correct, but insists that because of everyone's hard work, it's time for a well-deserved snack break. Stubborn as ever, the girl says no. The young leader then passes the food to the protagonist and notes that he's already getting the hang of teleporting. While eating, Chashur Hyen says that for a master like him, picking up new tricks is as easy as breathing. Seeing the scene, Sha Unsold just wants to punch his brother in the face. She explains to Kim that you can't learn anything from her brother because he gets strong in a completely different way. But the boy reminds her he's the team leader, giving him the right to relax. Yet lately he feels he's hitting his limit. Kim quickly admits she talked too much and apologizes. Even though his team trusts him, he feels like a total failure inside. He confesses that he's scared of getting too comfortable one day. He apologizes again, but Chai Un-Sul just snatches the food from his hand. She urges him to quit chatting and start eating, because Jigu's kamap is absolutely delicious. Kim feels deeply moved. As they get too worked up, Shushi Hyen asks how much longer they have to keep hunting. Kim has to teleport faster than the huge, speedy monkeys because she can only move so many at once. That is why the leader only wanted to let them grow. Cheyen's points.